I'm here with Joe Neate, executive producer of Sea of Thieves. Joe, thanks for the time.
Absolute pleasure.
Let's just start off. What is the point of the game? Like, what is my objective in Sea of Thieves?
Ultimately, it's to become a pirate legend, right? There's no Blackbeard in Sea of Thieves that's already kind of exists in the game. There's no Black Pearl. Players are going to become the legends of the world, right? And that's ultimately your goal. However you want to play, whatever you want to do in Sea of Thieves, we're going to try and meet those motivations for players. If you want to be the kind of the player that goes out there just sinking other ships and becoming that kind of fearsome player in the world, then that's totally open to you, and we'll kind of reward that and kind of reward players' progression around it. But if you want to be the kind of the merchant or the person that just goes out seeking treasure, all of those motivations will be met, because it's a game with a lot of freedom. It's a game with a lot of choice for players, and you can approach it kind of how you want, right? Because everyone's grown up watching pirate movies or reading books, and so everyone kind of has an idea of what they would do in a pirate game, in a pirate world, and we really want to deliver that to players and ultimately make this the ultimate pirate experience as a game, right? I think there's it's almost a gap in the market, I think, for somebody to really nail the pirate game, right?
I love the sound of all of that, because I'm a big pirate fan. Recently, have you found that you've needed to temper expectations or something, given, we've had some big open sandboxy world style games come out that have burnt players more recently? So far, Sea of Thieves seems to be on track, but how are you making sure that you're not over-promising and under-delivering?
I think show and tell is our kind of mantra, right? So, when we talk about becoming a pirate legend, we talk kind of quite high level around the aspirations around it, but when we're ready to show exactly what that means to players, we'll talk about it in detail and we'll show it. And we've been really good, because I don't know if you know much about our Insider program. We launched in December last year. We started off with 1,000 players and are out for about 140,000 now. And we've been growing and evolving the game experience with players playing it. But we've been very conscious to show stuff and talk about it at the same time. So yeah, show and tell is how we kind of counter that, I guess.
And this whole closed alpha thing has been really interesting, because I've always thought of Rare as much more of a sort of secretive lockdown company, and you're not really showing stuff off until it's done. This is a total change in the way that I feel like you guys develop games. What brought that about, and what's been the challenges or rewards?
You're exactly right. Like, historically, very secretive kind of. I don't know if you've ever been to Rare, the kind of location in the English
I've never been. I don't even know where you are.
I
thought you were American. When I met you, you were British, and I was very confused.
Yeah, so we're like hidden away in the middle of the English countryside, and it's almost like a Bond villain's lair or something, the kind of Rare offices. But when we looked at kind of what Rare should do next, we were very interested in these shared world kind of experiences that were out there. We looked at kind of things like DayZ on one hand for kind of reference, because it was a really interesting game, really interesting premise with loads of really interesting stories and videos coming out of it. But we wanted to kind of take what was special about those shared world games, but apply the kind of the Rare magic and the Rare approach to it. But one thing that is super critical for a game like Sea of Thieves is that we have our expectations of how players are going to behave in it, but because it's multiplayer, it's co-op, and it's also a shared world, you have to test that stuff with players. And so doing the Insider program meant that we could test our kind of expectations and see if they were landing with players and if we needed to tweak and change things. But also, it's a new IP, right? So Rare obviously has a fan base and has made tons of different types of games over the years. But for this, we needed to build a new audience. The Insider program, what that gives us is when we actually get to launch and we bring that kind of broadest audience in, we've already got a really big, really supportive, really engaged and kind of knowledgeable community. Whereas if we hadn't done that, then we would have just been launching kind of blind and just crossing our fingers and hoping that we had a really kind of big day one launch and we had enough players and they were all there and they kind of got it.
I saw as well something that I really liked. You seem to be rewarding players who got in early and have done things in the game, sort of milestones. They've sort of been inscribed in the game in this history in some ways. Can you just speak about that?
Absolutely, yeah. So, we've been doing this since the start of the alpha, which is basically almost kind of building the lore of the world around players. Because, like I said, there's no Blackbeard, there's no Black Pearl, and we want to kind of build the entire lore and the history of the game around players. And it's not just players in the alpha. Because obviously, like, some people get in early and there are still people waiting to get in and stuff. But we're going to continue doing this as the game grows and evolves beyond launch and everything. And we look at like what are cool things that have kind of touched our hearts or have made us think, oh, that's awesome, we should do something around that. And like from when we did the first ever alpha session with our first 1,000 players, we were sitting there watching the telemetry kind of come in live in our boardroom, going, oh, players are playing, this is awesome. And then after like 4 minutes, we noticed someone died, and we were like, someone's died after 4 minutes. Like, how did they die so quickly? And two, it's like that was the first person to ever die in our game. And so Like I remember their gaming tag is Hallower 1980, and so on the Ferry of the Damned, which is where you go when you die, we scratched their gaming tag into kind of the wood by the door because he was the first person to ever be there, and there was nothing else to do. There was no one else to talk to, like in our heads in the lore. It's not the biggest, most amazing achievement to be the first person to die, but it was really cool that we could commemorate players. But then we've renamed taverns after one of our kind of really popular community members, kind of in the forum and stuff. We called it like the George and Kraken after a guy called Clumsy George. When we first put in full damage, there was a player that I think they died something like 37 times or something in one session, and we were like, what were they doing? And it turned out because what we hadn't done is give players the ability to kind of eat bananas and stuff and get health back. So what he was doing was if he got damaged, he would then kill himself so that he got back to full health. And that was what he was doing. And we were like, oh right, okay. So there's a skeleton kind of stuck into the ground with its just feet sticking out, just on one of the islands. Again, with his gaming tag scratched into a rock next to it. And like we'll continue to do this as the game goes because I think it's a really powerful thing that we can do that. We can build this game around players, and that everybody's got a chance to have a story around them. Like, and no one knows how to do it, so they can't kind of game it or anything. It's our way of giving something back to them.
I'm so excited about that. I can't wait until I'm immortalized just by screwing up enough in a video game. Thank you very much for your time, Joe.
No worries. Thank you. Cheers.